Okay, good morning. It's Thursday. It's a very windy Thursday here. I want to talk about Hanuman. And if you know the pose and the yogic philosophy, you'll know where we're going today. But if you don't, that's okay. I will help you get there. Hanuman was the Monkey King in one of the great stories called the Ramayana. And in a nutshell, for the people he loved the most, he leapt across to Sri Lanka and pulled the island close to the continent. And he did that out of love. And that is the pose, the leaping pose. And so there's so many things about this pose that I love, and so many things that I'm challenged by. And I actually hurt myself doing this pose. And I say that right from the beginning, because the pose can teach us so much to be able to move into poses that are challenging, but with really mindful and precise and strong action. This is really what's needed in this pose. And to kind of relate it to doing things for those we love. We'll do anything for those we love, but sometimes we can knock down our own boundaries to do that. And sometimes it's not as helpful as we think to do what we want to do for somebody. It's sometimes it's more optimal to support them from a distance and let them do what they need to do and let them make their mistakes. So there's so much wrapped up in this pose. And I'd love for you to kind of keep that stuff in the back of your mind. Is there somebody that you're reaching out to help? And how is that affecting you when you reach out to help them? You know, are you compromising? Because I truly think helping someone else, we should never, never, never compromise ourselves in order to do that. So are we ready? Hanuman, you kind of figured it out, yeah? Okay, let's come and stand at the mat. The front of the mat. We'll start off with some sun salutations. Tip you this way. For those of you who are just joining, I'll put it in the notes that you'll need a hand towel and a tennis ball or a tune-up ball. That will come later, a little bit later. And we'll move. You'll need some kind of a sliding surface. So come and stand at the front of your mat and get connected to your feet. Feet, serve me. Feel the surfaces of the surface of the feet, I guess the soles of the feet, and feel what's connecting to the floor. I've got my my Joya toes in, so I'm going to take them out because I feel like it's just taking away from me connecting to the earth. I want to feel a sense of being grounded as I move towards poses that are going to challenge me. I want to feel that sense of being grounded. I want to still feel in my body and not get carried away with my head. And that's an easy thing for someone who has a fair amount of vata in them to do. And vata, it's the dosha that pulls all the other doshas out of whack. So there you have it. One of these days, I'm going to do another Ayurvedic presentation, and let me know if you're interested in doing it. So as you stand here, just kind of tune in, maybe rock a little bit from front to back, rock a little bit from side to side, and let your weight shift to the inner and outer edges of your feet. Ankle mobility, one of the first things when I do when I get out of bed is work with my toes and my ankles. And then kind of do a little bit of a circle without bending your legs. Just feel like the wind is blowing and circling you around. And notice what your toes want to do. And then go the opposite direction a few times. Let your feet shift. Let your ankles move. Wake up from the bottom up. And then bring your feet as close together as you're able to do in your body. And we'll bend knees forward and back, not back, but forward and back to straight is what I meant. So now I'm just kind of letting my knees go where they go. And I'm feeling what's happening in my feet and in my ankles, my calves, my quads, my pelvis. I'm kind of keeping my pelvis and rib cage and head in the same relationship as I move through these movements. Okay, so now aim your knees towards the left and then to the right, and let your feet, your ankles move. You know, if you start to feel pain or pressure in your knees, this is not great feeling, doesn't feel like it's something good, then don't do it. Go to maybe back to the center. But we're working on a little bit of ankle mobility. Pretend you're a skier. Not that we do this, but we do kind of shift our weight when we ski. And then last one, and let's do a circle. So we start bending and circle back and then up. And let's go the other way. Again, if this is a problem for your knees at all, then don't do it. I don't know if you remember Carrie, but Harish used to do stuff like this and I would never do it. I thought, he's twisting the knees. I have learned new things. Okay, and then shake them out. And now when you stand in Tadasana at the front of the mat, how do you feel? Do you feel a little bit more connected to your feet? I do. And then take your arms, scoop them out and up to the sides and then overhead, and then bring them back down. So I'm going to suggest exhale on the way up. I know it sounds like it's odd, but notice how the exhale can help ground you. And then the inhale, when you bring your arms down, can make you taller. Just do this a few more times. Sometimes it's called the sun breath. Typically done the other way around with the opposite breath. But an exhale to feel the support and stability as you take your long levers up. And then inhale and feel how you can grow tall from that position. And one last time, arms come up on the exhale. Hold here. Hold on to your left wrist, lean over to the right. Turn your head up to the left. Bring your arms down, inhaling. So wait for that breath to come along. Exhale, come back up. We'll go the other side, lean over. Notice if you're trying to do a back bend or twist your body here. We're working on a little bit more of a side bend here. And then turn your head. Trying to release some stuff before we go into our sun salutations. Exhale up, first side again. And last time. And then come back. So we want to connect the feet all the way up through the crown of the head into the fingertips. Let's do it again. Exhale, arms up. Inhale, bend your knees, stay right centered in your feet as you come forward, hands to the floor, to your blocks. Inhale and lengthen your whole spine. So extension. Be mindful of what you're doing with your head. Keep it in line with your spine. And then exhale and fold into a flexed version. So this is the phase 2. This is actually Uttanasana. And as you extend your spine again, that's Ardha Uttanasana, so halfway. And then fold in. We'll do that a couple of times. Knees can be bent, feet can be separated. Go where you need to be at this point of your practice this morning. Two more times. Releasing through the back of the body. Kind of engaging it and then releasing it. And then hold in Uttanasana for 2 more breaths. If breath commands or instructions is a problem, then don't listen to them. I know it's easier said than done. Hands by your feet, slide your right foot back, right knee down on the floor. Let's go into half Hanuman. And we'll go back and forth between half Hanuman and Anjaneyasana, or a lunge. Kind of makes sense if we're going towards splits. Now, I'm not asking you to bend forward and stay connected to the front leg. I want you to just explore movement at this point in your practice. I'm keeping this leg fairly vertical as I come back. And also lift up. It's an exploration. So you might even want to turn or turn the other way. Just kind of checking in and mobilizing the hips, checking in number one, and number two, mobilizing in opposing positions, let's say. And then let's come back, come into Anjaneyasana, arms come lift up. Take a breath in here. And then with an exhale, press into your feet and lift your back knee off the ground. Elevator comes up, straighten both legs. And then inhale. Exhale, slowly descend. Inhale. Use your exhale to lift. Inhale when you get to the top. Exhale. That's a lot pretty quickly in the practice. Again, 2 more times. Use your exhales to do the challenging movement. Inhale in the pause. Remember precision, mindfulness, precision, and strength. That's what this pose is going to ask of us. There you go. Bring your hands down. Move your blocks away. Hands come back down to the floor. Come back into downward dog. In downward dog, set your hands the way you set your finger or your feet, with lots of awareness that there are parts that sink into the floor, but there are parts that lift away from the floor. So find that balance. Create, again, it's the same idea here. Mindful placement, precision, and action. How to stay strong through your hands so that your shoulders are protected. Maybe bend, alternate your knees, bending your knees. I don't know if I did this with you last time, but lift your heels, weight shifts towards your hands. And instead of letting your weight shift towards your hands, stay strong, lift your heels and lift your sit bones up. Ah, there we go. And then lift forward, look forward, and step your right foot forward. Bring your left knee down. And we'll go back into half Hanuman, Ardha Hanumanasana, and Anjaneyasana. However you want to do it. It's an exploration, so it doesn't really matter how you do it. It doesn't really even matter to me if your hip goes way out, because you're exploring movement. And you're going, isn't that interesting that my hip goes out when I do it here? But hey, you know, when I take my hip out like that, I get a lengthening down here and through the front of my foot. So there's nothing wrong. You can't make a mistake. It's only cause and effect. Awareness, creating awareness, and warming up. I think my computer is having a little bit of a problem today with the internet. You're all frozen in various stages of this movement. Okay, one more time. We'll come forward. Here we go. Set your feet where you need them to be. Inhale first. Exhale, hip points towards each other. Back knee comes off the floor. Up you go. Both legs are straight. Breathe in again at the top. Exhale, descend. You can adjust where your legs are at any time if you find this too much. Breathe in. Hip points to stabilize pelvis and core. Come on up. I feel like so disconnected from you all. I'm going to just conjure you up in my head. Breathing in at the top and breathing in at the bottom. Exhaling in the traveling phase. Last time. And then hands come down, step forward, push off your back foot, step forward back into Uttanasana and lengthen your spine. Come into full Uttanasana, whatever that version is for you. Take a few moments here. See where your weight is. I want to feel like my sit bones are over my heels. And if I feel any pulling right here around my sit bones, I want to just release that a little bit and take my tailbone and make it a little bit heavier. I want to try to bring my hip points towards each other. That will help with that action. Let your head hang and just move it around a little bit. Then bend at your knees. I like to bend at my knees, especially when I've been holding it for a long time, but you don't have to. I like to stay centered in my feet and then rise back up. Breath in or breath out, I'll let you decide. Let's come into Utkatasana. So sweep your arms forward first so that they're perpendicular to the floor or parallel to the floor, perpendicular to your body. Then start to take your sit bones down. Your pelvis and rib cage are going to stay in line with each other. What that means is we're not doing this where the rib cage tips back and the pelvis tips forward, and we're not doing the opposite where we round this way. So we want to have that awareness of rib cage and pelvis and sit into the pose that we want to be in. Let's take another 2 breaths here. Notice where you are on your feet. Notice what your breathing is. So I went from arms here, I took them up. And then come and stand. And arms come down. Exhale if you're on an exhale, inhale if you're on an inhale. Whatever works for you to come down into Ardha Uttanasana, halfway. Into Uttanasana. Hands by your feet, step your left foot back. Bring your left knee down. Take your arms up, lift up. Anjaneyasana. And in this position, once again, press down into your feet. I like to use an exhale to come up, but you can decide. And take your arms out to the sides. We'll do a rotation here. So rotate your body, keeping your arms in that same plane as your upper body, as opposed to turning your arms like this. So we turn to the right. Help your left gluteus maximus really fire up here. And then turn back again. So you're facing forward and bend and let your knee go further past your ankle if it's possible. We're not going to necessarily need to get the back knee to the floor, but you can start bending it as if you wanted to touch it to the floor. I'm just going to take the movement a little more forward, still keeping rib cage and pelvis together. And last one. This is a strength practice today, isn't it? And then slowly make your descent back down. Hands to the floor. Let's step back into plank this time. Set hands with care. Remember the shoulder blades. Where are your shoulder blades? Push into the floor in the parts that need to push down, and then use the energy to lift up and connect up to your shoulders. And from here, shift back into downward dog. Bend your knees in downward dog and shift forward into plank. Straightening your legs. Bend your knees in plank as if you're going to touch them to the ground, but shift your hips back and up. Back into downward dog. And then come forward. So big circles. Still working through the soles of the feet, the fascia of the feet, mobility of the ankles, mobility of the shoulders, connecting feet to the top of the head. 2 more times like that. And then hold in plank. You have a couple of choices. You can bring your knees to the floor, and then lower down from there, or shift forward to your toes. Keep your rib cage and pelvis in line as well as your head and start to lower down. Land on the floor. We'll start with a couple of cobras, but first, anchor the tops of your feet by plugging your toe knuckles into the floor. Your legs are about hip distance apart, so we're not going to go too wide here with this movement. I want to feel like the center of my legs are facing down. My hands are beside my chest, so I want to use that to help create length along the sides and roll my shoulders away from the floor. Keeping head in line with the rib cage, pull your hands back as if you wanted to slide them, but don't actually, and lift up. And then come back down. So we're not going to let the shoulders drop back down when we come down. We're going to keep that broad chest. Lift up and come back down. Now let's make it a little more serpent-like. Lift your belly off first. Roll back and up, and then roll back down. So I don't know if you can see the difference. I'm letting my belly lift first, then my shoulders come up, then my head, and then belly, and then head, belly to head, as opposed to lift and having it be very linear. Let's do 2 more like that. And then pause for a moment. Take your arms now and bring them by your sides, keeping your head in line with your spine. Keep the same broadness through the front of the body, same length through the sides of the body, but turn your palms inward. Legs are still active, and just because we're going to lift them up doesn't mean your legs they don't stay active. So actively still press into the floor or downward with your toe knuckles, but lift from where your legs join your body. Lift your legs up and then lower them back down. We'll do 2 more like that. So just focusing on what's happening with hip extension here. I want to have some tone in my abdomen, so I still want to prepare by bringing my hip points towards each other as I lift my legs. And I want to be aware of whether I'm turning my legs out, almost like a ballerina. 2 more. I can't see you to know what you're doing. I might have to jump off my computer and come back on. And then bring your hands down, rest for a moment. Bend at your knees, sway your legs from side to side, let your pelvis roll. Real quick while you're having a little rest. Oh no, I got you back. It's just very spotty today, probably because of the wind. So I'm giving you a chance to be off your wrists because we're going back onto them. One of the best poses to symmetrically open up through the hip flexors is upward dog. That's how I would differentiate the 2 poses. So Cobra and Shalabhasana work on the spinal muscles, and not so much spinal muscles for upward dog. You know, you probably are, but more we're opening up through the front of the hips and engaging through the back of the hips. So bring your hands closer to your waist this time, and you're more than welcome to stick with Cobra. Activate your legs, knowing that you're now going to rest on the tops of your feet. Press your toe knuckles into the floor. Lengthen through the sides of the body, lift your shoulders up, press your arms straight. I still have my knees on the ground. Just going to adjust my hands a little bit. So my knees on the ground, and I want to get them off the ground. But before I do that, I'm going to bend my elbows. So bend your elbows with me. Get your knees off the ground, keep working your toe knuckles, and then re-straighten your arms and take your chest forward. Imagine you're trying to pull your body forward between your arms. Shoulders roll back. We'll take 2 more breaths here. If you need to come out, come out. Notice if you're compromising yourself anywhere. Remember, we don't want to do that. And then slowly shift back, come back into downward dog. Hold your downward dog. If you need to, you can always come down onto your knees and do a half downward dog. Ardha Adho Mukha Svanasana. Lift your heels, lift your sit bones. Keep your weight back and then slowly descend your heels, keeping your 2 front hip points drawing towards each other, especially if you're feeling like you are pulling on your hamstring attachments by your sit bones. We're moving the tops of the thighs, the upper front tops of the thighs, back towards the back of the thighs. So let's do this one more time. Lift your heels up, like you're stretching the back, the tops of the hamstrings. And then keep that and lower your heels, bringing your front hip points towards each other. It's a subtle movement. It's a movement to keep some space in the front of the hip socket. We're going to need that next. Walk your feet forward to your hands. Ardha Uttanasana, with blocks, with legs bent. It's your call. What does your body need? How do you need to do this pose today? And then release into Uttanasana. And decide how you want to come up today. Another option that I've been playing with a lot lately is to bend my knees, stay centered. Start to turn my pelvis as if I wanted it to be upright. So that's that engagement of the core again. And then start to move through my vertebra as I lift up. But that's a key element in this action and doing this exercise is to get your pelvis to move towards vertical. So there's an engagement through your core to stabilize you, to hold you as you roll up through each vertebra. And stack your head right on top. Lift your arms up, reach. Nice big side bend. And shake out. Yeah, everybody good still? It's 9:30. Okay, Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana. Number 2. So set your feet. I'm going to say set your feet a little bit closer. We're going to just kind of test the waters a little bit. You can have a strap. I kind of like holding on to the big toe, even if you don't straighten your leg. So what I was saying in forward bend was, and even downward dog, we want the tops of the thighs to stay back because we want the pelvis to stay in this anterior position. What typically can happen when we start to go into Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana is one leg lifts up, goes forward, and the pelvis does this. So this top of the thigh starts to move forward. So I want you to have an awareness of the top of this thigh, keeping it back. So when this leg lifts up, it's not going to have any bearing on it. This is what keeps you stable. Okay, so stand on both feet. Find your awareness in the soles of the feet for rooting and for rising. We'll stand on the left, shift. Let's come up first into sort of a quasi tree pose so that we can see my pelvis is staying here. What I'm doing is turning my thigh bone in the hip socket. Then move your way up your leg. Doesn't matter where this goes, but notice if you've turned to get somewhere. Lifting up and turning. So then you can slide out to your knee. Take your foot off and press your knee into your hand. Really great way to practice tree pose, because this is the action we want. Ooh, we want this to be long. Okay, if you're still okay here, your balance is still good, you're working with the 3 points on the left foot, come down to your ankle. And if this is where you stop, this is where you could put a strap around your foot if you wanted. You know, we want to work on the balance first. I go to my big toe here. If you're able to get to your big toe and be in this shape, then be here with your big toe. Because it doesn't matter about whether you stretch the leg out straight or not. I'm still working with the shape of my pelvis, and I'm going to start to move this leg out. If I get here, I get here. So Barb, take a strap, lengthen your arm. Yeah, just put it around your foot. So you're just creating a little bit more of a longer arm. You could be here. Notice what's happened to your standing leg. Lengthening through the inner thigh. This is Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana 2. Pada is a part and hasta is a hand, so hand to foot. This part, moving back. Okay, let's slowly come back out. Come back out the way you came. See if you've got the control. Oh yeah, wake up, little piriformis. Come into a forward bend. Releasing that tension that's there, rather than adding tension on top of tension. Come into your standing forward bend. Uttanasana, Ardha Uttanasana. What is it that you need? Such a beautiful practice. And really the beautiful part of the practice is that you don't have to follow any rules. I know it sounds really odd. The only rule is follow what you need. You can take guidance from some of the instruction that I'm giving you, but you don't have to follow anything I'm saying. You know, I make suggestions. So then come back up. You don't have to listen to me. I'm totally okay with it, because ultimately it's your experience. Okay, shift to your right foot. 3 points. So the tripod is the big toe base, baby toe base, and the center of the back of your heel. Those points are dropping into the earth. The rest are lifting up. So the 3 arches across the toes, the inner side and the outer side. So here we go. We're just doing a rotation. Is it possible? Do I know the rotation of my thigh bone? Do I know where that is in space? And then keep it out. I haven't turned my pelvis. I haven't turned my spine. Then slide up. We're testing balance. See where you are. If you can get to your knee, get to your knee. If you can't, here's how you can use the strap again. Once you're there, put the strap around your knee. We've done something similar to this and push out into the knee. So this is it. I'm pushing out, or I'm pushing out. You can take your foot away, keep pushing out. Notice if you've gone this way. We want this to stay in. We want this to be back. Maybe down. What does it feel like to hold onto your ankle? You know, proportions, anthropometry plays a big role in these things when we're binding. If you have shorter arms than the length of your torso, it's going to be hard. Big toe or strap. Still want to keep this side in and this back. And then you can play with your pose. As I'm going into the pose, I still want to try to keep my pelvis somewhat level. So I'm dropping my left sit bone down. And it's like all of the standing poses. The front leg is going to do this rotation down. So sit bone goes out and down. This leg goes back. Where you are, it doesn't really matter. If you're not going to use a strap, I'd rather you hold on to your leg somewhere Yeah, so we're doing number 2, which is off to the side. We will come back to number 1 as we approach Hanumanasana. This is just one way of building this class. So many ways. This is back, this is in. This is tall. Sides of the body are long. The sit bone is down. Okay, make your way back. Do it with control. So the only issue that I have when the strap is used is, let's see, just for future reference, I'll go from the side. There tends to be a little bit more of a leaning back. Whereas if you go, just shorten up your strap, you can't quite get the big toe, what's the next place you can get? And then work there, as opposed to having this big long strap. The goal is not to straighten the leg, the goal is to have a really great alignment in your pelvis and your standing leg. Okay, take a step wide, let's go into Prasarita Padottanasana. I'm gonna put my blocks here, you may or may not need them. Step wide, I'm feeling the need to go into this pose. I'm making my feet point forward, and I want to point them so then when I bend my knees, I am pointing my knees forward. So whatever that means for your feet. I also want to feel like I can connect with my big toe base, my baby toe base in the center of my heel. And I'm talking about the back of the heel, which means now I stretch my outer ankles and I'm lifting my inner ankles. That makes sense? Lift from your heel up through your inner ankles and knees bend forward. Let's bend forward, come forward, come to blocks. Notice if your legs want to collapse to the inside, be strong or change your positioning of your feet. Hands to blocks or to the floor. Lengthen your spine into Ardha, Prasarita Padottanasana. Let's go into a rotation. I'm just feeling it. Right hand into the center, left hand on your sacrum. Keep your spine long. Keep your body centered in the middle and rotate. Notice if your head is actually tucking. I noticed that was happening on me. So I want to keep my body right in the center of my mat. I've got a second mat here. Yeah. Come back into the center, change hands. You can be on your block here. Change hands, start to rotate. Rotate from your shoulder blades. Lean back into your shoulder blades more than you think you need to. And notice if you're trying to pull your top arm back to get you into the rotation. Go from your shoulder blades. One pushes forward, one pulls back. Nice, nice, beautiful, beautiful, ladies. And then come back. Okay, so from your Prasarita Padottanasana, bend your knees again, bring your hands to your thighs, lift up. Let's keep feet wide, rotate we'll start with right. So lift your right heel up and rotate it back. Lift your left toes up and rotate it forward. It's a big pose. It's going to be a big step. Take one of your blocks and put it on the other side of your left foot. So I've got this really big stance, might be bigger than what I'm used to. We can always change it. We can always change it. I want to keep this knee facing forward and this leg rolling in so my pelvis is somewhere here. Bend your front knee and come back up again. Do this a couple of times and notice where your body goes. Notice where your body is going. What I'm noticing is my body's leaning forward. Can you see that? What I want to do is keep my body more here and connect more with my back leg and let my front leg go. So my body is doing this more of an action of a direction, a movement of lowering. I want to open up for the inner right groin. Oh, it feels so amazing for me. Really been working with this area and making progress, I feel. Okay, and then once you get to where the end point is, hand to the block, or forearm to your knee. Sweep up and over. Keep the same action here where you're staying connected to the back leg, even though you've put more weight here. It's easy just to kind of all of a sudden forget that you have a back leg, but we kept the back leg really active as we went into the pose. We want to maintain that. Beautiful. Nice. Now bring your top arm down. Draw your feet towards each other and come up. Turn in, come back to Prasarita. Now you might want to rethink the distance that you did. We'll start with the left foot. So lift your left heel up, rotate. So I'm rotating my leg, but also letting my pelvis turn. Then the right front foot lifts and I rotate my pelvis and my leg. And then I land. I'm going to grab this block, put it on the outside here. And here I go. Let's just do the first few, just seeing the way your body just wants to move without you planning it. It's hard to unknow something that you know. Remember, this class is about compassion for yourself, compassion for others, but not compromising yourself at all. Helping others, but from a place of being mindful about yourself. And sometimes it's like, you know what? I'm going to stay back here and support you from this distance. So now see if you can stay more connected to your back leg. See the difference? Here's what I was doing before. See where my body goes? Here's what I'm doing now. It's harder. But I want to stay connected to my back leg and slide forward. So my body's going to move, but I'm still staying rooted in this, especially in the outer edge of my foot, and come into Parshvottanasana. Yeah. Externally rotating your front leg. You can do what we did at the beginning. Turn your rib cage upward, turn your head upward. Again, here's my instructions. Typically, I say push your feet away. I would like you to pull your feet towards each other and create stability that way to come up. Notice what that does for you. And then straighten, turn your feet in, and then we'll heel toe back to the center. Ooh, it's warm today. Give a shake out. Take yourself through a sun salutation without lunges. So sun salutation A. And then hold in downward dog. When you get there, it doesn't matter what you did, doesn't matter if you didn't know what to do. Just do whatever. Lift your heels up in downward dog. Lift your sit bones up. Keep your weight back into your feet. Start to lower your heels, keeping that hollow space in front of the hip joint by drawing your two front hip points towards each other. So it's a really low engagement. It's not going to make you tuck your tailbone. So if that's what's happening, just be aware of it. Okay, slowly lift your upper body up and your head. Step your right foot forward. Bring your blocks in, Parshvottanasana. Blocks, fingertips. I want you to come into extension first if possible. Extension in the spine. Press into your right big toe and pull back with your right outer hip, keeping your sit bone down. Keep that action as you fold into your flexion version. So it's just like Uttanasana. So the flexion starts with the pelvis, and when the pelvis doesn't move anymore, then the low back lengthens. So notice if you're skipping all that and going right to rounding through your upper back. Because good chance if you're just going to that, then you're doing the opposite. Your pelvis and low back are flowing down towards your feet as opposed to coming with you. We want that to all come with us. Let me peek. Stay as high as you need to get that to happen in your body. Carrie, you can drop your head. Yeah, let it flow with the curve of your spine. Okay, come back into extension, spinal extension. And let's change legs. So we start with spinal extension. You can set up your feet where both of them can connect with the floor, all 3 points on both feet. You've got some awareness from your big toe base on the left foot to your left outer hip, pulling back. Go from extension to flexion. So have this awareness that you want this part, the low back, pelvis to go, and low back to lengthen in the direction of your head first. Then middle back, then upper back, then head. Carrie, lengthen your neck if you can. Yep. I do that too. I want you to feel that lengthening through the whole back of the body. Pull your outer left hip back just a titch. Same with you, Jenny. Pull your left hip back just a titch. Okay, slowly lengthen and come up. So extended spine. Come up. Okay, this is where we need the hand towel. We'll use the ball at the end to just massage whatever we need to massage. I'm going to move my mat. Actually, maybe I'll do it the other way. I'm going to move my mat this way. I've got some dust bunnies under here. And have your blocks too. Your blocks and your hand towel. Let me just double check on my plan here. Okay, here's the progression. I'm going to have my hand towel folded like this because it's a little bit thicker and I know it's going to slide. You can change it up if you need to. Let's start with right foot. Just want to see, will it slide? If your hand towel doesn't slide, maybe try a sock. Put a sock on your foot. And we'll start with right foot forward and left knee down. So we're on our knee here, on the shin of the left foot. Have your blocks, we're not going to use them just yet. So I'm starting, you can see my knee is just slightly past my ankle because I brought it in. I'm going to move that so you can see. And hands to the pelvis. So slide, stay connected to the back leg. So we're going to keep the back leg more like this and start to slide forward and then back. It's going to go on an angle. So I was wrong when I said that. I want to go forward and then use the front leg to pull back. So this is something you can return to at any time we get further. And notice where the strength needs to come from. We'll only do 2 more. I don't want to tire you out. Okay, so the next step of that, we'll do the same side, is to come forward Same place, but now let your front leg move towards straight. Now I don't want to get into trouble and go too far, and then I can't get my leg back in. So kind of test the waters and see where can you still bring it back in from. So we go forward with the knee bent first, and then the leg goes out. You can even lift your front of your foot up, pull back from the front leg. Too glad we did all that stuff with the hamstrings. So if we're going to do this pose, it makes a lot of sense to me to prepare, know how to be mindful in the pose, know how to be precise, and know the actions to keep me safe. So the action to slide back and forth is what you need to be safe in the pose. Last one. Okay. Come down. If you feel like it's important, I like to come back and do something neutral in between. So I'm just going to stand in Tadasana. You can do downward dog. You can do standing forward bend. Just want to get a sense after doing something so asymmetrical. I can feel my left leg feels like it was working so hard through my shin and my lower leg, whereas I feel my hamstrings more on the right side. Okay, let's come back down again, change sides. I'll get you so that you can leave before we're done, Ginny. I'll give you the next step shortly. Okay, so here we just do the leg first. Come in. So front leg moves forward and we're moving from the back leg. What I mean by that is the back leg leans forward and then we're using the front leg to pull back in. Cleaning the floor at the same time. Pick a different spot so you clean a different spot. Notice what part of the body wants to do the movement. Is there a part that's compromised? It's like, let me do it, because I always do all the work. Okay, one last one like that. I'm also using my toe knuckles on my back foot, just like I did for the cobra and upward dog. Okay, so here's the next step. We go forward, start to let your leg move towards straight. Front of the foot can come up and then pull it back. So more focused on coming forward, leg moving towards straight. A lot of glute and hamstring work on this front leg. If you need the blocks, take the blocks. I just want to show you, you don't have to go into the full pose. It's just a destination that some people can go to. You know, I've never been to Australia. A lot of people have been there. I might go one day, but I don't know if I need to. Although watching the Australian Open, it sure looks like it's nice. Last time. Okay, and let's take a break. Downward dog, Uttanasana, Tadasana. You know, there's nothing like a Tadasana where you're not having to do anything other than stand and be aware of how you're standing. I just want to feel a sense of what was working in the pose. What was I working? Okay, last big one. And then Jenny, you can head out. I'm gonna move these right out of the way because I'm gonna need a little room both directions. So now the back foot, so let's do the right. We were just sliding the left, so let's do left foot back. So I'm standing like this, I've got my blocks. You're probably gonna need your blocks for this. And you'll need some space because we're gonna go forward and back. And hopefully I can remember where my mat was. Okay, here we go. Oh, yeah. So I'm standing. Actually, yeah, never mind. We're going to focus on going back first. Okay, so you can start to slide your back leg back. You can lift your back heel. Same idea. We're going to go back only to where we can go and still bring it back up. So I'm not going very deep yet. As you go back, take your blocks up. I am going to progress this, I promise. So before we get too tired out, here we go. Back. As you go back further, start to bring your blocks and put them near your pelvis. So right by your side, see if you can touch your back knee down and then slide forward. Come back up. If touching your knee is too far, then don't go there. You bring your blocks down right beside your body. Maybe you stay this high. We'll do a last one. I'm going to watch you. You're not compromising yourself for the sake of doing something fancy that you can't walk. Nice. Okay. Shake it out. Put your blocks down. One last side, and that's the major part of it. Walk around. Do something symmetrical. Stand in Tadasana. You know, yeah, have a drink. Any questions? Are we okay? How's the sacrum? Potentially the muscles around the sacrum working hard to get this to happen. I'm curious about the other side for me. Okay, and when you're ready, right leg back. So the other piece to this, and you can definitely try this if you want, as we're doing it, when I said, you know, we're going to have room to slide both, you might need a sock on your front foot to slide a little bit better, or another hand towel. So I'll just show you as you're doing it, we're going back. First, we're just going back and bringing it back up. So heel lifts, slide back. Really great if you've got sort of an all levels or intermediate class. No, flexibility isn't all that it's about. Mobility is, you know, you could slip on the ice. And if you have the ability to pull in, then you're way ahead of the game to prevent injury. Okay, and if you want, you can take your blocks down. So here's where you can take your blocks down, but also, I'm gonna knock my thing right over. So as I take my blocks down, right by my sides, I'm gonna move my front leg towards straight. Then pull back from the back foot and up you come. Yeah, blocks go up. Let me see. Blocks near your pelvis. Keep them near your pelvis. Otherwise, you're going to have all your weight forward. You can kind of remember blocks go up and then they stay right by your sides and go straight down. It's not easy, is it? Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So your front leg slides as well if you can have something to slide with it. Okay, last one. We're not even going to hold it. Because to me, it's not about that. Yay. Ah, well done. Really good work today. So now stand in Tadasana and notice where you are feeling what in your body. Is it more back here? Because you were doing a lot of stuff there. Or do you kind of feel like, oh, this whole area has got a buzzy feeling to it? And did you serve yourself? Because if you did, then you set yourself up for going out into the world to serve others. Being in service of others can be challenging. You can move from your heart, but really, don't hurt yourself in the process. Don't compromise yourself. And then once you've tuned in Tadasana, what pose do you want to do? Do you want to do a rotation? That's kind of what I think my body's craving, is a rotation. Not a forward bend. We did a lot of those. Maybe a back bend. You know what? Here's what I'm proposing for myself. I'm proposing, and I'll go sideways. Put my head on my little towel. Pelvis up on a block, supporting the whole back of the pelvis, supporting both SI joints. And I might even strap my legs here if I felt like my legs wanted to roll out. Yeah, I'm kind of digging this pose right now, but I don't want to work that hard, so I'm going to strap my legs. So look and see what does your body need right now. We'll do this for a couple of minutes, and then you can head into, or not, you can head into your Shavasana whenever you're ready. Thanks for coming, Ginny. Awesome to see you practice. Yeah, maybe legs up the wall. For me, I just feel like it was a lot of opening, a lot of engagement around my inner thighs. Oh, this just feels like what I need. I can let my legs go into the strap, take my arms overhead. Stay as long as you like in whatever pose is serving you. I might then go into a supine rotation. Oh yeah, that's next in line for me. And then into your Shavasana, whatever that means, whatever pose will serve you. So if you haven't started to move into Shavasana, you can now. Or not, once again, it's your practice. What do you need from this? You set aside this time. What do you need right now? You'll hear the sound of my voice, and you can stay a little bit longer, or you can grab your tennis ball if you feel you want to roll out in your gluteus, your buttocks at all. Well, you can do that now. If you didn't, if you feel like, oh yeah, I gotta release that. Or stretch and move in any way that serves you. I sometimes like to sit on a chair and just, I'll show you. I'll back up a bit. I'm just gonna roll from side to side on my chair. Or you can do it on the ground too. If you don't have a tennis ball, that really works well. I'm a bit of a master at how to roll out through my glutes. So I hope you all benefited from this practice today. Just take a moment wherever you happen to be. You don't have to rush to get up. And just connect with your heart. Connect with your intuition. And connect your mind to your body. Check in to see how you feel. And know that you can go out into the world and serve others from this place. And serve others with kindness towards yourself. Thank you for joining me. Peace.